Yo, what's good? Welcome to God Likes Gods. And today I'll be responding to a post I saw on Reddit. By the way, I hope everyone is doing well. I'm doing just fine. So, yeah, I'll be responding to a post that I saw on Reddit. And then I will read two of the comments that piqued my interest. And then after that, I'm going to tell you what I think about this particular topic. This guy is called Alien Pro, and he's saying lack of curiosity is a subtle form of stupidity. So another user commented by saying, I would say in most instances it is a bit of a red flag, but the reasoning behind it can't be simplified to something as simple as they're stupid. Okay, another comment I want to read. I think this is the last one. Okay. My husband and my best friend are the most curious people or adults that I know in my life. They never lost their childhood curiosity. I feel like I had to spend my whole life trying to be cool so that I wouldn't be hurt by anything. So I think I sort of lost my curiosity. I hate that. I'm trying to poke my nose into more things. Okay, so here's what I think. Um, is lack of curiosity a form of stupidity? I don't really think so. I don't think so. I think in life and as people, we are different. We are wired in different ways. And some people are curious about certain things. That's for sure, right? Some people are curious about certain things. Now, I don't know what is the reason behind this person posting this this thing that he posted on Reddit. Was it because he saw something um in a certain context and then he just decided to say a lack of curiosity is a lack of stupidity? Because what do we say about somebody who is extremely curious about soccer, but they know nothing about politics, they know nothing about science, they know nothing about relationships, their curiosity is just focused on this one thing that they are ridiculously obsessed with, you know? Um, isn't that isn't it that somebody else who is, let's say, more curious about politics will think that this person who's curious about soccer is stupid, if we're agreeing with what this poster is saying? You understand? Because you'd find that in a lot of society, having knowledge about a specific thing is seen as the pinnacle of intelligence. For instance, let me do an example. At school, if you were good at math or if you were good at science and maybe you were good at English, then people are going to think you're smart. You understand? While somebody who was good at playing soccer, for instance, or rugby, or they were good drawers, they were fine artists, or somebody was a singer or a rapper or whatnot, they're not seen as intelligent, even though a lot of people who are famous musicians nowadays started when they were in high school. You understand? Some of them were great even when they were in high school. But when you compare that person, or as a high school student, when you compare the guy who's good at singing and then the guy who's good at math, you know, I think most people would agree that the person who's good at math is more intelligent than the person who's good at singing, because of course there is a stigma around art. It doesn't make any money, which is true, right? So people don't value it as much as being good at certain things that have been proven to impact your life in a positive way, especially from varsity and also in your career. You understand? So I think when it comes to this question, we must kind of ask ourselves, um, what was this person talking about? When they say lack of curiosity, in what context are they talking about? Because it's impossible that somebody lacks curiosity. I think it's impossible. When you are a child, one of the comments spoke about um uh their husband never losing their childhood curiosity. I think when you're a child, you were curious about everything because you haven't developed your identity as yet. You haven't chosen that, oh, I want to um, form my identity based on mathematics or based on school in general, or I want to form my identity based on soccer or based on music or dancing or based on film, or based on talking to women, relationships, things like that, or gym. You're not old enough to um you're still figuring things out. You're still trying to decide. Am I the type of person who likes rap? You know, am I the type of person who likes reading? You haven't decided. You're still trying. You're still trying to figure yourself out. So, of course, at that time, our perception, rather, let me put this in another way. As somebody who's 20 something or 30 something, you think children are more curious than you. But the fact is that they are curious about everything because they're still trying to figure themselves out, and they're still trying to choose that one thing that they love the most. And once they choose that thing, they will stop being curious about everything else because they've discovered that this is what I really love, or this is what really piques my interest. You understand? Like how in high school, people who were obsessed about women or girls, who were obsessed about talking to girls, knew a lot about that space. They will give you advice. They'll say, yo, if you want to talk to this girl, you must do one, two, three, and four. You understand? It doesn't mean that the person who doesn't know these tricks or whatnot is stupid. No, it's just that they're not as familiar as the other person when it comes to talking to women. You understand? Meaning that knowledge, curiosity, and experience is based on context. And there's no way that you will know everything. You understand? There's no way that you will know everything. So in high school, there were certain people who were more familiar with certain things, while others lacked in those same things. And because everyone is in the same space, uh, we kind of help each other. If I'm good at geography and my friend is good at speaking to women, I talk to him, hey, can you please give me some advice? I like this girl. What should I do? You know what I mean? Doesn't mean I'm stupid. It doesn't mean I lack curiosity. Maybe I'm just not experienced in that, and it's okay, right? And since I'm good at geography, they can come to me and say, Ish, struggling with geography. Can you please help me with one, two, three, and four? You understand? It's that's a reflection of people being knowledgeable about different things, and also people being curious about different things. There are certain things that you won't be curious about. You understand? And there are certain things that you will be curious about. But what if the things that you're curious about are things that are not considered that important in society? You understand? Like I will make this example again. I will keep repeating this. Soccer or music, in society that's not seen as an area where uh intellect plays a role, even though it obviously does. But I think there are people who don't think that it does. People don't think that There are people who think that there is no genius that goes into music. There is no genius that goes into soccer. Or rather, if there is a genius that goes into either music or soccer, then that intellect or wisdom or knowledge is not greater than the one that goes into mathematics, because society rewards people who are good at STEM more than people who are good at music. You understand? It's not a lot of people who make a living off of music, even though they are good, right? But if you're good at math, you have a lot of opportunities. You know, you can go to university and study something, you can go to college and study something. So it makes sense why that's more valued than, music. But at the same time, the point I'm trying to make is that curiosity exists in everything. You understand? Everything requires curiosity. But there's no way that you're going to be curious about everything. And um, if you see that somebody is not curious about a certain thing, chances are they're curious about something else. It's just that that something else that they're curious in is something that you don't care about or something you don't think is amazing. Somebody might be interested in planting flowers, and that requires knowledge, that requires a certain curiosity. You can't just do it without knowing anything, and in order to know about it, you must be curious about it. So yeah, I don't know. I don't know if that comment was in general. In general, you're telling me in general there are people who are curious, who are not curious about anything. That's impossible. That is impossible. I refuse. There's no such thing as somebody who lacks curiosity, bro. They are just curious about something that you're not curious about. Even if that thing is I don't know, crime. They like crime. It's a weird example, but people who are good at crime, although what they're doing is bad, we can't deny the fact that there is genius that goes behind it, because criminals are going against police people. They're going against not politicians. They're going against detectives. People who have a lot of experience in crime. They know a lot. They're smart themselves, so they also need to be smart in order to evade uh, being captured by these people. So there is genius, there is knowledge, there is curiosity, there are things to learn even in crime. That's facts. That's the truth. So, uh, what's another comment? Okay, the other comment spoke about. I mean, it's the same comment actually. This person, this is the same person who said, "My husband and friends have never lost their childhood curiosity." And then he or she, okay, whoever, they said that um, they feel like they spent their entire life trying to be cool, you know, and I think that makes sense. When we were in high school or when I was in uni, uh, I would associate being cool with not wanting to make mistakes, you know. Um, and the fact of the matter is that if you're scared of making mistakes, you won't learn anything. It's like with this YouTube thing. If you're afraid to record a video and make mistakes in that video and post it, then you'll never post anything, because there'll never be a point whereby you're going to make something that's perfect, especially when you're starting. When you're starting, almost everything that you make is going to be imperfect. It's going to be sloppy, but that's how you learn. That's how you figure things out, you know. But if you're trying to be cool, if you say, I want to create something perfect because I don't want to ruin how people view me, then you will keep making videos, but you'll never get to the point whereby, let me make, or rather, what I've made is perfect. You understand? You'll never get to that point because you don't have the skills to make something that's perfect. You don't have the skills. You don't have the experience, of making something that's perfect. So you need to go through that phase whereby you're making stuff that's not watchable. Where you're making stuff that has no order, there's no intro. It's just, it's just you making stuff, and along the way, you you acquire certain skills that then take you from being okay at making videos to being actually good at making videos. But that will take you failing and you not trying to be cool. And when you're cool, when you try to be cool, you think you know everything. You understand? You think you know what's happening. But going back to the example of YouTube, when you start, you don't know everything. You don't know how to do it. You don't know what will work, and you don't know what people will like. So you must make stuff and then be curious enough to find out what is the best way to do it. You know, while you're making stuff. You know, what is it that I can change? That requires curiosity. Um, Actually doing research, also requires curiosity. So I think that is true. Being cool will stop you from being curious because you'll be too afraid to admit that you don't know something. You'll go on thinking that I know everything. Or you'll know that you don't know everything, but you'll try to hide that fact about you because you're trying to be cool. You know what I mean? But not being cool is being curious, because when you are curious, you must say, yo, I don't understand what you mean. You know, you'll have a conversation with somebody who uses a word you don't understand, you know. But if you're trying to be cool, you'll just pretend that you know the word even though you don't. And that has actually happened to me. There was a time whereby I didn't know what the word sufficiently means, you know. And then somebody said, do you think that'll suffice? You know, and then I was like, I don't know what this person is saying, but I'm going to act like I know. So I said yes. you know. And then as I forgot, I think we were shopping, and then I think I bought plastics. I forgot. This was a long time ago. Um like I bought two plastics, and then they were saying, do you think these plastics are going to suffice? And then I was like, yes. But I didn't know what they meant. So I just agreed. I acted like I knew the word, even though I didn't know the word, you know? And then now when it comes to us putting things together, putting the groceries in the plastics, we realize that no man, these plastics are not enough. They're really not enough. And then he's like, but I asked you if these things are going to suffice, and you said yes. And then now I'm like, yo, I don't know what this word means. But I didn't tell him that I don't know what that word means because I was trying to be cool, you know. If I wasn't trying to be cool, I was going to say, what does that mean? And then he was going to tell me, oh, this is what it means. And then I was going to say, oh, okay, cool. Now we need three more plastics. You understand? So trying to be cool can prevent you from learning new things. Because when you're trying to be cool, you won't ask a question when you don't understand something. I don't know if I've said enough, but I think, yeah, that's all. What else do I need to say? Nah, not that much. In conclusion, um, don't judge people. In conclusion, don't say that certain people lack curiosity, because they might lack curiosity when it comes to the things that you value, um, and have a lot of curiosity when it comes to things that they value. So don't go around saying people lack curiosity. It's impossible for people to lack curiosity. Maybe some people lack curiosity when it comes to important things, things that they should be curious about. But then it's a free world. They can choose what it is that they want to be curious about, you know. It's their choice. It's a free world and they're free people. So, they can choose that. I don't want to learn about this. I don't want to be curious about this. But when it comes to this, I want to be curious, and there's nothing you can say. It's not stupidity, it's preference. It's preference. And then, what's another thing I wanted to say? Yeah, don't judge people, and understand that people won't be curious about the same things that you are curious about. And then, there's something else I wanted to say, but I'm forgetting it. What is it? Um, what is it? Oh yeah, being cool. In conclusion, I don't be cool. Be be open to looking stupid when you don't know something, you know, because if you don't know something, it makes more sense to ask questions uh at the people who know something, because after they tell you about this thing, now you will know. But if you just act cool and act like you know it, then you don't give yourself the opportunity to learn about that thing or to learn that thing. um yeah, that's all. Thank you for watching, and until next time, goodbye.